Good morning and welcome to this exciting day to talk about businesses all around the world. It's Business 360 and my name is Blyden Okem. In Business 360 today, we'll look at the key features in the world of business, from the commodity markets to the stock market, and we'll look at the future has radically changed over the past decade. It's been the conversation from different angles. The Asian share of global GDP has risen from 38% to 45%, an extraordinary change in a remarkable short space of time. Clearly, a result of the growth seen in China and India over the period, but mirrored by rapid growth in many other Asian countries. Of global GDP growth in the past 10 years, from 2012 to 2022. The Asia-Pacific region is home for over 4.2 billion people, with an average life expectancy of 75 years and a current median age of 32, in line with a global average of 30. Video streaming app TikTok is to offer text-only posts, as it becomes the latest technology giant to challenge X, Elon Musk's rebranded Twitter platform. The Chinese-owned app says the new thing about business is here. Earlier this month, TikTok launched a new music streaming service to rival platforms like Spotify and Apple Music. TikTok users will now be offered 3 options on the app whether to post photos, videos, or texts. Let's talk about Spotify. In the US, the cost will increase from $9.99 to $10.99 for those with an individual plan. Similar price hikes also apply to the UK, Canada, Australia, and 49 other territories. The move follows other streaming services which have also increased subscription costs. The story around Spotify as being dystopian has been launched by AI entrepreneur Sam Altman. WorldCoin gives people digital coins in exchange for a scan of their eyeballs. Instead, receive free crypto tokens after going through the process. Altman, the chief executive of the OpenAI, which builds chatbots, ChatGPT, says he hopes the initiative will help confirm if someone is a human or a robot. In his bid to provide petroleum products in the East African region, with the nation's cabinet this week approving the Kenya Pipeline Company's acquisition of assets from the bankrupt Kenya Petroleum Refineries Limited. That with abundant storage space for the petroleum products through the new Kepevu oil terminal, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi as potential customers, offering more cost-effective option compared to Dar es Salaam. In Algeria, Algeria's President Abdelmadjid Tebboune recently announced Argentina, Iran, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Cuba, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Comoros, Gabon, and Kazakhstan have expressed interest in joining the BRICS group. BRICS is a grouping of the world's economies of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. According to Wikipedia, percent of the global population. In Nigeria, the outstanding 1.3 trillion naira debts of the federal government to the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has nothing to do with the payment of dividend to the government, according to NNPCL. In June this year, the National Oil Company revealed that it was expecting a refund. The federal government had accused NNPCL of indebtedness to the tune of about 2.8 trillion naira, but the oil company had claimed that the federal government should first pay back almost 4.1 trillion naira, which was its unsettled outstanding claims for subsidy payments on petroleum products imports. Supply announced recently that it paid a dividend and production sharing contract profit of about 123 billion naira to the federal government in June. Now to the balance of excess crude dollars in the last 2 years, despite remittance of 907 billion naira to the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, FAAC, by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, according to reports. The NNPCL had resumed remittances into a communique issued at the end of the FAAC meeting for July 2023, NMPCL said the balance in the excess crude account was still stagnant as of June 2023, the same amount in the pause as of December 15, 2022, while it paid 907.054 billion naira into the FAAC accounts. Let's talk about the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, has said that point-of-sale POS operators cut order to POS operators from conducts that constitute an infringement of the law. POS operators under the umbrella of the Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents, the FCCPC issued an order to stop POS agents from fixing withdrawal prices. Here we'll go on a quick break. When we return, we'll be looking at global economy, okay, now to global economy. Beginning with economic calendar, the expected data releases for today. The economic calendar gives, let's move to the calendar and see what the standings are this morning. According to economic calendar this morning, as at 2 a.m. in the morning, GDP growth rate year-on-year advanced for the second quarter in South Korea, coming out at 0.9%. Let's look at further data releases for the day still in the morning. Info Business Climate for July in Germany came out at 87.3, while it's formed the talking point and the conversation regarding the markets and outlooks. Talking about global economy, South Korea's economy expanded 0.6% quarter-on-quarter in the second quarter of 2023, accelerating from a 0.3% growth in the first quarter and exceeding market expectations for a 0.5% expansion. On the expenditure side, private consumption fell by 0.1% as expenditures on services, example restaurants and accommodations, declined, while expenditures on goods maintained the previous quarter's level, benefits in kind. Exports decreased by 1.8% owing to reduced exports of petroleum products and transportation services, although semiconductors and motor vehicles increased. Imports dropped by 4.2%, mainly due to decreased imports of crude oil and natural gas. Policy rates by 50 basis points to 30% during its July 2023 meeting, surpassing market forecasts of 29.5%, bringing borrowing costs to the highest level since records began in 2000 amid indications of rising inflation in June 2023 from 42.2% in the prior month, after slowing down for 4 months of the central bank's target band of 6% to 10%. The central bank also stated that it would closely monitor inflation data in the coming months and respond appropriately if needed. Let's talk about the commodities now. Looking at economist perspective, the big question is, prices have been soaring even as crude has failed to rally. Does this indicate a rebound in crude later this year? CME Group senior economist Eric Nolan discusses this. Let's find out.
Markets are closely related, but if one looks at this chart closely, a pattern emerges. First, back in late 2006 and early 2007, soybean oil prices began to rally, even as crude oil prices were falling. Crude oil later began following soybean oil higher. Now, soybean oil peaked in January 2008, whereas crude oil peaked 6 months later in July 2008. Soybean oil prices then went into free fall in late 2008, hitting bottom that December, moving slightly ahead of crude oil, which reached its low point 2 months later ahead of crude oil's peak. From 2011 to 2014, soybean oil prices slid, almost in anticipation of the abrupt collapse of crude oil prices in late 2014 and early 2015. Soybean oil hit bottom in October 2015. crude oil 4 months later in February 2016. Since then, many of the peaks and valleys in soybean oil prices have happened ahead of crude, including in 2022 when bean oil peaked out in early May last year and crude peaked out 2 months later. Does this portend a summertime rebound in crude oil? Well,
Eric Nolan gives perspective about the tandem between soybean oil and crude oil. But let's move to the grain markets. Let's hear from McGarvey.
Crush at 18.90 cents. And August futures at 15.20, that really gave the market a little bit of a boost of making another new high for 2023. Now, in the option open interest, we added 1,300 calls and 2,500 puts. I think that that's just bullish on the option side, that there's a lot more participation in the market right now. CVOL for soybeans is at 26.6%, while the oil is 40% and the soybean meal is 30%. Corn is up with Jensen, kind of gives us speculators a little bit of confidence to step in and buy more. They're adding to those long positions, and that's giving that market a little bit more strength than we've seen in a while. Participation here and really all the options across the board. CVOL was down 2.75% to 32.1%. I think that's expected to change if the
Well, amid the rally for soybeans, corn, and wheat, let's move to the market today and see what the morning agricultural sector has indicated negativity the most. Beginning with soybeans, soybeans has dropped 18.5 points, a negative 1.21% decline this morning. Current price for soybeans is $1,504 per bushel. For wheat price, it's $743 per bushel, dropping 14.44 points, a negative 1.91% decline. Lumber is downward by 6.5 points. Palm oil dropping 103 points this morning. Current price is 4,061 Malaysian ringgit per ton, a negative 2.47%. Yesterday, palm oil was quite solid in the market of the metals. But the fortunes of the metal market seem slightly different from that of the agricultural market. A slight gain in the morning is the price of gold. For silver, not much significant difference, but a 0.9% appreciation this morning, $24 per ounce. Copper is a little here, a little there, but steel prices gained 14 points this morning, 3,750 mixed fortune amid the correlation given earlier regarding the price of soybean oil and crude oil. Currently, U.S. crude oil, the WTI, the West Texas Intermediate Oil, has a price of $78 per barrel, gaining 0.13 points, a 0.16% appreciation. For Brent, which is Nigeria's price benchmark, is slightly on a decline this morning, a negative 0.15% decline. $82 per barrel is the price of Brent crude. Gasoline, little here, little there. Heating oil, same story. Coal, not gaining much this morning, 0.1 point advantage. Let's talk about the foreign exchange market and the identities in the market this morning, looking at the dollar. Dollar eases ahead of central banks meetings. The dollar index fell slightly to around 101.2 today, snapping a 5-day advance as traders turned cautious ahead of key policy decision from the US Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, and the Bank of Japan this week. Beginning with the euro against the US dollar, and afterwards we see Naira's perspective against the majors this morning, the market. According to market analysis and perspective, the standings in the morning market, the euro against the US dollar is still within the 1.10 mark. The struggle continues, but no volatility in the market this morning. For the pound against the US dollar is at 1.28 point mark. Value appreciation for the Aussie against the US dollar. Now Naira's perspective. After yesterday's gain for the US dollar, it's a decline of 11.82 points, meaning a negative 1.49% decline for the US dollar. The euro has gained 70 at 1,018 naira to a pound, gaining 22.7 points over the naira, a 2.28% appreciation at the close of yesterday's market. Let's move to the parallel market and see what the standings are in the morning at the parallel market. Dollar to naira is at 870 naira. Well, it's a huge gap compared to the international and export window At the international exchange window, the dollar to naira point is 780, but in the black market is 870 naira to $1 the buying rate, and selling rate 855 naira to the dollar. The pounds to naira indicates a price level of 1,168 naira at the buying rate, and selling rate 930 naira to a euro. Quickly, let's look at the cryptocurrency market also and the standings in the digital coins. Bitcoin had dropped from the 30,000 mark to 29,179 US dollars. But this morning it has gained 37 point. Market is moving quite fast, 41 at some point, 7 points. A 0.34% appreciation, 1,856 US dollar per price of Ether. Binance slightly downward by 2.8 points, and the rest, Cardano, Solana, and Ripples also struggling. Quickly to the stock markets, beginning with Asian stocks. Asian equity market jumps today on boosting domestic demand and helping the ailing property market. Hong Kong and mainland China stocks led the gains, while Australian and South Korean shares followed suit. Meanwhile, Japanese stock declined amid a pullback in the technology sector. Quickly, let's look at Asian stocks, what the standings are this morning in the market for Asian stocks. Asian stocks this morning has shown some positivity for most of these, the shares and the stocks, especially those in China. But beginning with Japanese stock, JP 225 has seen a decline of 18 points this morning, 32,680. China, the CSI 300 has gained 110 points, and Shanghai 50 gaining 78 points this morning. Sensex is downward by 34 points. The Nigerian stock market. Yesterday we saw the performances of the market. At the end of the first weekday of trading yesterday, the benchmark all-share index climbed 264.89 basis points, a 0.41% increment to close at 65,268.28 points. A total of 831.5 million shares in 9,768 deals, corresponding to a market value of 12.936 billion naira, were traded. The market capitalization was at 35.5 trillion naira. Let's talk about the top gainers. National Salt Company led the gainers with 10. On the losing side, Ikeja Hotel came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 10% at 2 naira 70 kobo per share. First Bank of Nigeria recorded the highest volume of 347 million traded shares. This is all on Business 360. Thank you for being a part of it. My name is Blyden Okem.